Welcome back to Worship Leader Wednesday.
What's up, everybody?
We're so excited to bring Worship Leader Wednesday back. It's been a thing for a while, and then it went away, and then we brought it back, then it went away. It's back.
It's back.
And we're committed
better than ever
to consistent Worship Leader Wednesday uploads every Wednesday. Content to help you lead worship more effectively with a higher level of excellence right now.
Or maybe just to encourage you to make it through your week.
That could help too.
Whatever it is.
Yes. And Fuller and I are actually in the process of filming, producing, editing the Worship Manual, Volume 2.
Yes, so excited.
Volume 1 is available now, link below. Volume 2 coming within months.
Yes,
We're
so excited.
And today's Worship Leader Wednesday video is sort of an excerpt from some of the content from Worship Manual Volume 2. We're going to talk about how to make awesome set lists.
Yeah. What is a set list,
What
Brian?
we mean by that is, if you're not familiar with that term or it's not a term you use, just the music that you do on a Sunday.
The songs.
The songs, and I think maybe even more importantly,
Transitions.
how you get from one thing to the next.
That's
we'll
important.
talk about that a bit too. So that's what we're talking in this video. So when it comes to planning a set list, we could talk for hours.
Months.
And in the worship manual, I think we might talk for an hour on it. Right, so we're going to get way more in depth in that product. But in this video, we're going to have more of a 30,000 foot view about set list planning, creative planning. What's the first point here?
I think the first thing to consider, in my experience, which is making a set based on your personnel.
Songs that play to their strengths?
Yeah, sometimes we just pick songs out of a vacuum because it's easy for me to sit at a computer, look at my PCO library, which is often hundreds of songs. Average, I would say, between 80 if you're super like succinct to 150. I've seen churches that have 200-300 songs in their library.
It's too many.
That's a lot.
We'll make
It's a
content
lot
on that too.
So when you pull open, I know what it's like. You pull open PCO and you go, oh my gosh, and you just start going through the songs. There's so many to choose from. But I always say, instead of just picking songs, which is important, look at your teams.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, who's my drummer that weekend?
Yeah.
Who's my bass player? Who's my guitar player? Maybe you have your virtuosa piano player that weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to pick songs that are more piano driven, like Cornerstone or What a Beautiful Name.
Waymaker.
Waymaker. Songs where you know you're going to highlight your best musicians. Narrow it down, because I think at the end of the day, especially vocalists, I think at the end of the day, I would rather have a song executed awesome than thematically be perfect.
Yeah.
You know, because I think that worship is such a holistic experience.
Yeah.
You want to see people operating in their sweet spots. How many weekends, Brian, have you been leading worship and there was a song that came up in a creative meeting that fit the message perfect?
Yeah.
And it just fell flat.
Many times.
Because somewhere in a meeting, we all thought, this is the perfect song, it talks about this exact thing, but then you got there and it just fell flat because...
the team couldn't...
Yeah, it was like it wasn't natural for the team.
the congregation didn't know it that well.
The congregation didn't know it, or the vocalist couldn't kill it,
Yeah.
you know? And maybe it was like a Lauren Daigle song, for instance, with a mediocre vocalist is not as good as you think it is.
Beware.
You know, so... Pick songs based on your team first. Start there. That way you know whatever song you pick, because you'll have a list, maybe you have 20 songs to choose from now. Whatever songs you pick, they're going to all be home runs. Yeah. And that's a great place to start.
Yeah. Okay, so the next point is, don't worry about doing new songs all the time. And I think we get into this. I think there are two sides to this spectrum. I think there are churches that never do new songs,
which is boring.
And then doing new songs is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's actually biblical. The Bible says, "Sing to the Lord a new song." So there you go.
I don't know if he's really talking about actual songs. Is he?
Could a new song in that scripture mean a new offering of praise and worship?
Yeah, like a fresh perspective.
Or an offering of worship in a situation where you might not worship.
Yeah, like maybe things aren't going well.
That's another video.
That's a new song.
What does that Bible verse mean? But
yeah, the latest release on Sparrow is not necessarily a
digress.
Yeah,
you don't need to do new songs all the time.
It's detrimental.
Yeah, and so there are songs that your church knows and loves and will sing the junk out of it every time. That's a Bradford Mitchell term.
Sing the junk out of it.
Every time you do it. You know what those songs are. If you asked yourself right now, you could identify them. I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're probably sick of them.
Yes,
right?
Of course.
So you might have a personal bias against a song.
Yeah.
For us, for a period of time, I think it was probably Cornerstone.
Yeah, you're like, oh my gosh.
Like, are we doing Cornerstone again?
Yeah.
You know? But like every
song's
time,
going ching ching.
Every time we do it, every time we do it, it's just like it's a massive worship experience.
It's so funny that you mentioned that.
Never falls
Brian.
flat. Yeah.
Just a couple, like maybe 4 weeks ago, we started bringing Cornerstone back. Maybe like 6 weeks ago. One of the lady who stuffs the chairs at our church, came up to me and she goes, "I am so glad you guys did Cornerstone. I love that song." Yeah. And I remember thinking, that's it right there. That's it.
So people will really latch on to some of these songs that you've probably done a lot. And it's okay to keep doing it. In fact, it's good to keep doing them in your sets, because it just creates really rich moments of worship for people, because they don't have to worry about reading the lyrics. What does that mean? You know, that kind of thing. And so don't worry too much about putting a lot of new songs in your set.
So I think another point with picking a set list is you have to look at a set list holistically. Mm-hmm. So it's one thing to zero in on a favorite song, but it's another thing to think of how those songs go together.
Right.
And making sure you're not, like, whatever ride, we call it a ride, that you're taking people on musically, make sure it's intentional and not accidental. Yeah. Because you might have like one super upbeat song and then like one super mellow song and then an upbeat song again. I think that's a mistake.
Even a mid-tempo.
Yeah. I think you have to take people gradually to where you want them to be. Typically for worship, you know, if you're doing worship right up to when the pastor starts preaching, you probably want them by that point to be reflective and have open hearts and stuff, but you might not necessarily want to start that way. And so you want to really look at the keys, the vibe and grooves of the song, and then also the meter of the song. Because if you go from a song from 4/4 to 6/8 and then back to 4/4, that can feel a little weird.
It can be
Plus,
hard
it can
for
also
musicians.
throw your band off.
Yeah.
So consider all those things. Now, sometimes they just might work. It might be that this song in 6/8 at this certain tempo and this song in 4/4 at this certain tempo, actually the 6/8 just kind of feels like triplets. So it might flow perfectly. Yeah. But you don't know that till you start putting the songs together.
Right.
And then try to figure out if you got a song in A and the next song you want to do is in A flat. Can you move one of them?
Complementary.
Yeah, can one go down or one go up so that it's constantly in A? Those are the kind of things, once you've kind of selected the songs.
D or something like that.
Yeah, or complementary keys. Like maybe you got one key that's A and one that's C. Maybe you can take the C up to D or down to B.
And if you want, like, just look up the circle of fifths.
Yeah, there you go.
That will help you learn what complementary keys are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Just make sure that the songs paint a picture, if you will. Yeah. Also, thematically, you know, sometimes you accidentally luck out and realize all these songs are about this certain thing. Yeah. And you can say, oh, well, all worship songs are about God and Jesus. But, you know, some songs are more about Jesus. Some are more about like God the Father or the Holy Spirit, and
some are more about us.
Some are about us and our appreciation for God's grace or whatever it is. But I think not getting too critical, like, oh, our pastor's talking about, you know, finances this weekend. Yeah. We need 5 great worship songs about finances.
Good luck.
Guess what? You're probably not going to find any. Yeah. I saw there was a post on one of our threads a few months ago. It's Pastor Appreciation Week. Are there any good songs for Pastor Appreciation? I'm like, not that I can think of.
I kind of hope not.
I hope not.
We don't write worship songs elevating a man.
Yeah, you know, but you know, people are always looking. I think sometimes we overthink of it. If you can maybe just get a scripture. Hey, the pastor's talking about Jesus walking on water.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe we just talk about the power of God.
Or the faith.
There is power in the... You know, and there's a million songs about the power of God.
Yeah.
Forget about finding what are good songs that talk about Jesus walking on water.
Right.
You don't... In the film and TV world, that's called Mickey Mousing.
Right, but that song might exist, but nobody may know it.
But that's the other thing. Oh, I heard this song 10 years ago.
And it might fall like flat.
Yeah, don't
force
it. Which is
what you talked about earlier.
Don't force it, man.
Yeah, well, you stole my point, Fuller. Because I was going to... Yeah, I was
going
to say...
How dare I?
How dare you? I was going to say, don't worry about making every song fit with the message of the sermon.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to just lock in. And I've seen people like talk about this we're talking about when we say we've seen this and that on Facebook.
We've done it ourselves.
We've done it ourselves too. Join our worship leader, WT leader Facebook group.
Yeah.
Link below, where we'll have discussions about a lot of these things. But we see people discussing this over and over and just like agonizing over picking songs that all fit with the message. They don't all have to fit with the message.
No.
I think like
they shouldn't.
I think it's great if the song right after does, or maybe right before.
Yeah.
So your pastor can sort of like springboard off of it.
That's money right there.
Yeah, and you can plan for that. I mean, but I would say don't try and force it.
Don't get too specific.
Right. If it works out and there's a song that your church loves that perfectly ties in with a message, do that song for sure. But don't just start doing a lyric search in iTunes for a phrase and come up with a song that nobody knows and say we're gonna do it just because it fits in, but like it's gonna fall flat. It's not worth it.
Execution.
Yeah,
it's so important.
Execution is.
And I will say this: I've said it before. It's my new thing. It's controversial. You can read it in all the forums. As a worship arts pastor, I really the older I get and the more I experience great worship, the more I realize the songs don't even really matter that much.
You do say that.
I do that. I say that a lot, and people are like, "Oh, how could you say that?" Here's why: because the heart of the people is what matters.
Yeah.
And it's like a great song is a great song, and I have seen so many times where we've got a feature,
so
and this ties into the message, and then the pastor's like, I'm doing a different message, and we're like stuck doing this feature, and we're like, oh man, we've learned this, you know. But I think it's not that the songs don't matter. It's there are so many great anointed worship songs out there. Maybe one talks about the power of God, and one talks about just worshiping Jesus. But both of them are so powerful that whichever one you do, the people are gonna just be worshiping.
So it's reinforcing the point, like it doesn't matter if the songs perfectly tie into the message as much or not.
Yeah. It's got to be anointed.
Do songs that people will engage with and worship to.
Do great songs and songs that are tried and true, man, and that are familiar. Keep it familiar with your people, man. They will appreciate it.
That is a big deal.
Yeah, worship leaders might hate it, but the congregation
Well, you know what? It's not about you.
It is not about us, man, for sure.
You, me, Fuller.
Doesn't matter. We don't matter.
It's not about what our personal preferences are.
That's right. A bonus tip for doing the set list, we've said this before.
Okay.
Don't use your church planning services, your weekends, as an opportunity for you to try out brand new original material that's not very good. I love you. Please. As a songwriter, I know that I've written tons of stuff that is not good.
Yes.
So,
most songwriters would say that.
Yeah. So, if you have a song that you've written with your team and you feel like it's going to be a blessing to your church, put it through some filters first. Let your pastor hear it. Let some other members of the team hear it before you go to the church and say, here's a great song that I've written that's not good.
At one of the churches I used to lead worship at, we did songs that I wrote. And it was really, I thought it was great, and people saying...
You had a couple really good songs, though.
Well, thank you.
Did.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And but I remember after doing them for a while, I would walk back, and I finally came to the conclusion. I use Cornerstone for example because it's just a monster song that is great. I came away from that experience saying, you know what, if I do this ever again in my life, the song that I write that we sing has to be as good as Cornerstone.
Yes.
Can you? And if
do you know what the odds are?
And if you're a songwriter writing originals in your church for your church, can you say that about your songs?
Yeah.
It has to be as good as Waymaker. Cornerstone.
Yeah.
What a beautiful name.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm picking the best of the best of the best.
Those are great.
And we're not going to write songs.
It's got to be in the ballpark.
Right. Yeah. It's got to, but maybe not as good as, but it has to stand up to them.
It has to have a quality about them that adds that sort of value.
Because you're going to sing them right before or after one of those songs.
Yeah. Seriously.
And so it needs to the level, that's a high bar, but that's what it takes because there are songs out there that are that good. And why sing a song that's not as good? Because you wrote it.
We should do a whole worship leader Wednesday.
It's all about selfishness.
How to write original, like what to do with original music. Yeah. That's a great topic.
Yeah, we should.
So there you have it. You know, we're all working hard every week to make sure that our sets are great and are maximized and we're reaching the potential of our team so that we can edify and glorify the church. We just want to encourage you, want to say thank you for checking out this video. And if you have any comments or questions, drop them below and I'm sure we'll get an awesome conversation started. And we will see you next time on Worship Leader Wednesday.
On Wednesday, of course.
On Wednesday.
Bye-bye.